Hello everyone, welcome to Swy Files, and I'm Swy. Today we're diving into a story that is both incredibly strange and haunting. 3 people, all vanished on the same day from 3 different locations, and they were never found. These disappearances took place in Idaho County, a vast and desolate area where not only people but even time and space seem to turn mysterious. What happened to these individuals? Why did they disappear without leaving a trace? Join me as we unravel this perplexing story, where every detail sends chills down our spines. Is this just a coincidence, or is there something far more terrifying lurking in the shadows of the forest? Now, let's take a moment to explore the landscape of Idaho, a place where the wilderness reigns supreme. Idaho County, located in the state of Idaho, USA, is not just an ordinary place with beautiful natural scenery. It is a land filled with countless unsolved mysteries, a vast region so desolate and treacherous that anyone who steps foot there feels an indescribable chill. In this place, life and death seem to balance on a precarious, incomprehensible line. Idaho County is sparsely populated, and it's this isolation that has contributed to its eerie mysteries, a place where many come and never return. With a massive area of over 8,500 square miles, Idaho County is not only the largest county in Idaho, but also one of the largest wilderness areas in the United States. The area is dominated by towering Rocky Mountains, dense forests stretching endlessly, and rushing rivers that make access and movement through the region exceedingly difficult. The forests here seem to exist outside of time, with ancient towering trees whose deep roots stand like giants that have existed for centuries. Idaho County's natural beauty has long been a favorite destination for those passionate about hunting and wilderness exploration. The area is famous for its large populations of deer and elk, drawing hunters from all over. In the 1860s, Idaho was also a hotspot for those chasing the dream of striking it rich with gold, as rivers and streams in the mountainous areas were rich with placer gold. Many hunters and gold seekers came with hopes of fortune, but not all returned safely. However, not everyone is drawn here just for the grandeur of nature or the thrill of the hunt. The vast and remote expanse of Idaho County has also been the setting for many mysterious disappearances over the decades, and not all of these vanishings have been explainable. This wilderness seems to hold things that humans cannot fully comprehend, things beyond our understanding of the world. Idaho County is bordered by treacherous mountain ranges, like the Bitterroot Mountains, where life seems to be frozen in the space between forests and rocks. Major rivers like the Selway and Salmon run through the county, cutting the region into isolated sections. While these rivers bring life to the area, they also create major obstacles for travel, making many places nearly unreachable, especially during the cold winter months. Thick fog, heavy rains, and harsh weather have made this area a significant challenge for anyone looking to explore it. The population of Idaho County is sparse, with just over 16,000 residents living across this vast landscape. They reside in small, remote towns like Grangeville, where only a few thousand people live, mostly engaged in farming or outdoor activities like hunting or fishing. For them, nature is not just a place for recreation, but an integral part of daily life. However, even the locals feel a certain unease when discussing the unexplored parts of the dense forests, where many have disappeared without a trace. One of the striking features of Idaho County is its rugged isolation. For adventurers, this could be a paradise with untouched wilderness, free from human impact. However, for those unfamiliar with the terrain, this area can turn into a real nightmare. Hunters, hikers, and even seasoned explorers have gotten lost in these dense forests and thorny mountains. There have been numerous cases where hunters set out for a short distance from camp only to never return. Local Native American tribes have said that the forest here has its own spirit, an invisible force that humans cannot grasp. The stories of disappearances in this area are not just accidents or simple cases of getting lost. There's something more mysterious, something that even the most experienced hunters cannot explain. The wilderness of Idaho County is not only frightening because of its vastness and isolation, but also because of the stories of mysterious disappearances that have occurred here for many years. These stories aren't just rumors, they are real cases, with dozens of people vanishing without a trace over the decades. They include hunters, explorers, and even filmmakers who came from far away but were never found. Extensive search efforts have been conducted, involving helicopters, ground rescue teams, and scent tracking dogs, but all failed to locate the missing individuals. These disappearances have cast a thick fog of mystery over Idaho County, where everyone who enters feels an oppressive weight, as if something invisible is watching them. For adventurous souls, the forests and mountains here might pose a great challenge, but they are also places where they may never return. What adds to the eerie and mystical nature of Idaho County is how nature interacts with humans. Sudden storms, landslides, and rock falls, or rivers that suddenly rise, have created unforeseen dangers. But what scares people the most are the things that cannot be explained, the strange phenomena they experience in this area. Many have recounted feeling invisible eyes watching them from the dense treetops or hearing footsteps behind them, even though they were entirely alone in the forest. Areas like Pilot Knob, where Lowell Smith disappeared in 1968, or the nearby Selway River region, where many other disappearances have occurred, are considered black spots in the history of mysterious vanishings in Idaho. Hunters often avoid these places, believing that some supernatural force is present, something beyond human understanding or control. Some even claim that a curse hangs over these areas, causing anyone who enters to never return. With its wild and mysterious nature, Idaho County has become both an alluring and dangerous destination for those who seek adventure. To the locals, this place is not only home, but also a land filled with inexplicable secrets. For explorers, it is an uncertain journey, where every step could lead to a disappearance without a trace. And for the families of the missing, Idaho County is an unhealed wound, a place where they endlessly search for answers about the fate of their loved ones. Lowell Smith, a name forever tied to a mysterious disappearance in Idaho County, was a seasoned hunter. He wasn't a novice in the wild, facing its challenges. With years of experience hunting across many seasons, Lowell was not only a former NFL player, but had transitioned into professional hunting. He was smart, strong, and possessed exceptional survival skills. Yet, on October 5, 1968, all his knowledge and expertise couldn't save him from a tragedy that, to this day, remains unexplained. Lowell and his group of friends had planned a major hunting trip to the Pilot Knob area, part of Idaho's wilderness. This wasn't Lowell's first time there. Pilot Knob was one of the ideal hunting grounds with its complex terrain, dense vegetation, and large game, attracting skilled hunters from across the country. For Lowell, it was just another trip, much like the dozens he had taken before. But none of the hunters that day could have predicted that this hunt would be the last time they saw Lowell Smith. Their camp was set up near a rocky hill, an ideal spot to scout and hunt. Lowell's companions, also experienced hunters, were confident about the hunt. But on the morning of October 5th, after a peaceful night's sleep, as everyone prepared for the next day of hunting, they realized that Lowell was no longer at the camp. Initially, there was no concern. With his experience, Lowell often left camp early to scout before daylight and would always return safely. However, as the sun climbed higher, the initial calm turned into worry. Shouts echoed across the hunting area, with Lowell's name called repeatedly, but only the forest's silence answered. There were no signs that Lowell had returned to camp or was nearby. Everything remained in place except for one disturbing detail. Lowell's hunting rifle, an essential item for any professional hunter, was gone with him. This raised a terrifying question. Where had he gone? And why did he leave behind everything else, taking only his weapon? The group immediately began searching for him. They scoured the trails around the camp, following every footprint. One of the hunters later recounted that they found some of Lowell's tracks not far from camp, but then the trail suddenly stopped. Among the bushes and rocky terrain of Pilot Knob, the footprints seemed to vanish, as though Lowell had walked into thin air, leaving no trace behind. The search quickly grew more desperate as no further clues emerged. Other hunters and local residents who knew the land like the back of their hands were called in to help. A rescue team was mobilized, with dozens of people, along with tracking dogs and helicopters. For several days, every corner of the Pilot Knob area was meticulously searched, but all they found were the remnants of Lowell's camp and a few personal items. No signs of life. By now, an invisible fear began to settle in. Even the most seasoned hunters, those with experience tracking deep into the wilderness, started feeling an unsettling unease. This vast forest, which they once called their second home, now seemed alien and full of dangers they couldn't explain. Everyone sensed that something wasn't right, as if they were chasing something that didn't belong to this world. Authorities quickly became involved. Search teams from the Air Force, helicopters overhead, and local rescue crews coordinated with the police to extend the search beyond Pilot Knob. Every inch of the area was combed through, but Lowell Smith, the seasoned and strong hunter, had seemingly vanished into thin air. Initial theories began to surface. Could Lowell have been attacked by a wild animal? But no, there were no signs of a struggle or bloodstains on the ground. Even the tracking dogs, with their remarkable scent abilities, couldn't pick up his trail. Some speculated that he might have gotten lost and was trying to survive somewhere, but with his survival skills, Lowell could have easily stayed alive and sent out a distress signal. Day after day, the search continued, but hope gradually faded. No new clues were found. Nothing indicated where Lowell had gone or what had happened to him. After a few weeks, as hunting season came to an end, the search was called off, leaving everyone with unanswered questions. The story of Lowell Smith's disappearance became widely discussed across Idaho County. The hunters who had been with him couldn't explain what had happened. They recalled the tense days spent searching the forest, the feeling that someone or something unseen was watching them. Some even began to believe that something supernatural was at play in the forest, something beyond human comprehension. Rumors of invisible forces began to spread. A local hunter who had lived in the area all his life recalled ancient stories from the Native Americans who once lived deep in the forest. According to the elders, the forests of Pilot Knob were not meant for humans. They believed that ancient spirits resided there, and anyone who disturbed the peace of the forest would pay a price. Such stories, once considered mere legends, were now spoken of with reverence and fear. Many began to wonder, had Lowell encountered a force beyond human control? Lowell Smith's disappearance wasn't just an accident or a case of getting lost in the wilderness. It brought an eerie feeling, as though something bigger, darker was lurking within these dense forests. People in the area began to view the forest differently, not just as a hunting ground, but as a place containing secrets that perhaps were never meant to be uncovered. Still, Idaho County remained a destination for hunters and explorers from all over the country. Though Lowell Smith's disappearance cast a shadow over the area, it didn't deter thrill seekers from venturing into the wild. However, after Lowell's case, many became more cautious. Hunting groups began to prepare more carefully, bringing GPS devices and radios to ensure they could safely find their way back to camp. But no matter how prepared they were, there are still places in this forest that humans cannot control. And Pilot Knob seems to be one of those places. Lowell Smith's disappearance wasn't the start of a series of similar incidents, but it served as a warning about the hidden dangers of this area. And although life in Idaho County continued, his vanishing left a nameless fear in the hearts of the locals, a feeling that there are forces in the deep woods that humans should never interfere with. Ron Gray was not an ordinary man. He was a veteran who had endured the harsh realities of war, faced death on the battlefield, and after returning, continued his life as a police officer serving the public. His entire life had been lived under strict discipline and the ironclad principles instilled by the military. This is why anyone who knew Ron could never have imagined that, with all his toughness and extensive experience, he could vanish without a trace in the wild forests of Idaho in 2008. That fall, after retiring, Ron Gray decided to plan a major hunting trip with a group of close friends, most of whom were fellow veterans like him, to Idaho County. Highline Lake was their destination, a region known for its wild natural beauty and excellent hunting opportunities. For Ron, it was a chance to reconnect with nature, escape the worries of life, and return to one of his long-standing passions, hunting. Nancy Gray, Ron's wife, knew well that he had been looking forward to this trip for a long time. Ron had told her that life after leaving the military sometimes felt too quiet and lacking in challenge. For him, the wilderness was the only place that could bring back the thrill and excitement he had felt during life-or-death battles. This trip wasn't just a hunting expedition. It was a way for Ron to test himself and rediscover the exhilaration he once felt on the battlefield. Ron's group arrived in Idaho in mid-September 2008. They set up camp near Highline Lake, a small lake nestled between towering mountains and dense forests. It was the perfect spot for hunting, and the group was excited about what lay ahead. From the first few days, they had great experiences. There were plenty of deer in the area, and the cool autumn climate only added to the enjoyment of their journey. On September 19th, Ron and a friend from the group left camp early in the morning to head deeper into the forested area around Highline Lake, hoping to find larger game. The two split up as planned to hunt separately. No one thought anything unusual would happen. Ron was an experienced hunter, and they maintained radio contact to ensure everyone could return to camp safely. However, by mid-afternoon, Ron encountered his first problem. While moving across a rocky slope, he slipped and injured his knee. For anyone else, this might have been a major issue, but for Ron, he saw it as a minor setback. He immediately used the radio to inform the group of his situation and decided to head back to camp to rest. Ron didn't want to trouble anyone for help. To him, it wasn't worth the extra worry. But as the day wore on and evening approached, Ron still hadn't returned to camp. His friends began to grow concerned. First, they tried to contact him by radio, but received no response. After several hours with no news, they decided to split up and search for him. Ron's name echoed through the quiet forest, but all they received in return was the eerie silence of the wilderness. At that point, concern turned to fear. Ron wasn't a novice at hunting or outdoor survival. If he hadn't returned or made contact, it meant something very serious had happened. The group quickly contacted local rescue teams, and within hours, a large-scale search was underway. The entire area around Highline Lake quickly became the center of the search efforts. Rescue teams were mobilized, helicopters flew overhead, and tracking dogs scoured every inch of the forest floor. They searched tirelessly for days, but there were no signs of Ron Gray. The search grew more haunting when small clues, such as Ron's footprints, were found, but then they mysteriously vanished. Weeks of searching brought no progress. People began to ask, how could someone like Ron, with all his experience and survival skills, disappear without a trace? What had really happened in the Idaho wilderness? Nancy Gray, upon hearing the news of her husband's disappearance, immediately flew from Massachusetts to Idaho. She couldn't believe that her strong, tough husband could be in trouble. She joined the search efforts, along with Ron's friends and the rescue teams, combing every area where Ron might have gone. But despite their best efforts, Nancy couldn't find her husband. The pain of losing her husband was not only an emotional loss, but also brought legal challenges Nancy had to face after the search officially ended with no results. Legally, without Ron's death certificate, she couldn't resolve any of the joint assets they held, from bank accounts to real estate. The limbo of Ron's disappearance left Nancy stuck in a painful and complicated situation. After months with no new information, Nancy, with the help of a lawyer, had to make a difficult decision: to petition the Idaho court to declare Ron legally deceased. She didn't want to do this, but circumstances forced her to face reality. A legal document was drafted by Nancy's lawyer, requesting the court to issue a declaration that Ron Gray had died so she could move forward with her life and resolve the property issues. In 2010, a judge in Idaho officially signed the papers declaring Ron Gray deceased, legally closing the case on his mysterious disappearance. But even with a death certificate, Nancy couldn't fully accept the reality that Ron was gone forever. She kept wondering, what had really happened to her husband? Ron might have had an accident, or worse, been attacked by wild animals. But why was there no sign? Why were there no blood stains or any clues of a struggle? All that remained was eerie silence and the disappearing footprints. Ron Gray's disappearance quickly became a widely discussed topic among hunters and residents in Idaho County. Those who had hunted in the area began sharing their strange experiences in the forest. Some said they felt like someone or something was watching them from the shadows of the thick trees. Others recounted hearing soft whispers in the wind, as if spirits were lurking within the deep woods. Many believed that the Idaho wilderness, with its pristine beauty, was hiding supernatural forces that couldn't be explained. Ron Gray's story only added to the mystery surrounding the area. It reminded people of the disappearance of Lowell Smith in 1968, another seasoned hunter who vanished without a trace in the same region. The two cases, although decades apart, shared too many similarities to ignore, prompting people to ask, could there be an unseen force at play in Idaho, one beyond human control? Nancy's pain over losing her husband never faded. Despite the legal paperwork declaring Ron's death, in her heart, Ron was still present, an indelible part of her life. In the long, lonely nights, Nancy often dreamed of Ron returning, walking through the door with his familiar smile and determined gaze. But each time she awoke, she was confronted with the cold emptiness of a home without her husband. Idaho County, with its unsolved mysteries, continues to attract hunters, explorers, and thrill-seekers drawn to the wild. But for those who know about the disappearances of Ron Gray and Lowell Smith, this place is no longer just a hunting ground. It's a land haunted by things that cannot be explained. Will the truth about Ron Gray's fate ever be revealed? Or will he, like many before him, forever be swallowed by the Idaho wilderness, leaving behind unanswered questions? Connie Johnson was a resilient woman, a lover of nature, always seeking new challenges in life. Before becoming a hunting guide, she spent many years as a teacher, passing on her knowledge and passion for the wilderness to her students. But for Connie, teaching within the four walls of a classroom wasn't enough to satisfy her adventurous spirit. With a love for journeys and exploration, she decided to leave her teaching career to become a professional hunting guide, living closer to nature and helping others discover its wonders. In October 2018, Connie embarked on a new trip with clients in the Fog Mountain area, one of the most famous and challenging hunting destinations in Idaho County. She had led many trips before, guiding numerous hunting groups through dense forests and treacherous mountains. This area, known for its picturesque landscape and abundant wildlife, was also a place where several people had mysteriously vanished. Connie was well aware of these stories, but she wasn't afraid. With her vast experience and confidence, she always felt capable of facing any challenge. The journey went smoothly in the first few days. Connie and her hunting group set up camp near Fog Mountain, an elevated area with panoramic views of the surrounding wilderness. They hunted during the day and returned to camp in the evening, relaxing by the campfire under Idaho's starry skies. On October 5th, 2018, Connie woke up early to prepare for another day of hunting. Her clients left camp to hunt in a nearby area, leaving Connie alone at camp. According to the plan, she would tend to the camp and wait for them to return by the end of the day. But when the hunters came back in the afternoon, they found something strange. Connie had disappeared. At first, they weren't overly worried. Perhaps Connie had gone out to scout the area, or she was busy with something around the camp. However, as time passed and there was no sign of her return, the hunting group began to feel uneasy. They searched the area around the camp, calling out her name, but there was no response. No traces, no notes, nothing. Connie's sudden disappearance left everyone baffled. The clients immediately reported it to local authorities, and a large-scale search was quickly launched. Like the disappearance of Ron Gray and many others before her, police, rescue teams, and volunteers all joined the search. Helicopters were deployed to scan the vast areas around Fog Mountain, while tracking dogs followed Connie's last known steps. But the outcome was the same as the previous disappearances. Connie Johnson, with all her experience and courage, had vanished as if she had never existed. The search continued for weeks, but there was no trace of her. Despite being a healthy woman with excellent survival skills, no one could explain what had happened to Connie. She had left the camp and never returned. The only thing found was Connie's dog, Ace. After days of no sign of her, Ace suddenly appeared on a logging road about 15 miles away from where Connie had disappeared. Strangely, the dog was in good condition, showing no signs of hunger or exhaustion, despite being out in the wilderness for days. Why had Ace traveled so far without Connie? Did she have an accident, or had something far worse occurred? Ace's appearance only deepened the mystery surrounding Connie Johnson's disappearance. The dog was returned to her family, but it couldn't answer the questions that were now plaguing everyone's minds. Could Ace have witnessed something terrible? And why had it shown up so far from the scene, without any other clues about Connie? The hunting community and the people of Idaho County were stunned by Connie Johnson's disappearance. Stories of previous mysterious vanishings resurfaced, serving as a warning to those daring enough to enter Idaho's wilderness. Like Ron Gray and many others before her, Connie had disappeared without a trace, and no one could explain why. Connie's family, like so many other families in similar cases, were left in a state of confusion and despair. They couldn't understand what had happened to the woman they loved and admired. Connie was strong, determined, and experienced in outdoor survival. The fact that she disappeared without leaving any trace left everyone who knew her in disbelief. They began asking questions, but there were no satisfying answers. Many theories were proposed, but no one could be sure what had really happened. Some believed that Connie had been attacked by wild animals, but there were no signs of a struggle. Others thought she might have gotten lost, but with her survival skills, she would have been able to find her way back to camp. And then there were theories about the presence of supernatural forces in the Idaho woods, but these were merely baseless speculations. The search for Connie Johnson ended in frustration, with no clear leads. She had become part of a long string of mysterious disappearances spanning decades in Idaho County, where the wild beauty of nature is always accompanied by unexplained mysteries. Like the other vanishings, Connie's disappearance remains an unanswered question, leaving behind confusion and pain for her family, friends, and everyone who knew her. But the mystery of Connie's disappearance didn't end there. On the same day, not far from where she went missing, another incident occurred, deepening the sense of bewilderment about what was happening in the area. A filmmaker from London, Terrence Woods, also disappeared without a trace while filming near Penman Mine, not far from where Connie had vanished. The strange coincidence of the timing and location of the two disappearances left many people wondering, could there be a connection between them? Is this area being influenced by some invisible force, drawing people into a vortex from which they cannot escape? This question will continue to haunt everyone as we delve further into the mystery, revealing more about the disappearance of Terrence Woods, painting a strange and eerie picture of the Idaho wilderness, a place that is not only a paradise for nature lovers, but also a realm filled with secrets that defy human understanding. Terrence Woods, a promising 29-year-old filmmaker from London, arrived in Idaho County, USA in October 2018 to work on a documentary project. A nature enthusiast with a deep passion for capturing unique stories, Terrence was invited to join the film crew of the popular show Gold Rush. His work involved documenting stories about gold mining, exploring remote and mysterious lands that few had ever ventured into. On October 5, 2018, the same day Connie Johnson disappeared at Fog Mountain, Terrence was working with his film crew in the Penman Mine area, an abandoned gold mine deep in Idaho's wilderness. It was a rugged region with mountainous terrain, dense forests, and narrow trails leading into the woods. For Terrence, it seemed like just another ordinary workday. But no one could have predicted that this day would change his life forever. According to the accounts of the film crew members, Terrence suddenly began acting strangely that afternoon. He became tense, anxious, and exhibited unusual behavior. No one on the team could understand what was happening to him. But things took a turn for the worse when he abruptly ran into the dense forest without saying a word. He dropped his radio on the ground and bolted down a hillside, leaving everyone in shock. A crew member recounted how Terrence's actions were so fast and unexpected that they didn't have time to react. They called after him, but Terrence didn't listen, and he disappeared into the thick trees. Panic quickly set in as the crew realized that Terrence had truly gone missing in the vast wilderness. They immediately searched the surrounding area, calling his name and looking for any signs, but all they found was the eerie silence of nature. As nightfall approached, the crew had no choice but to contact the authorities. A large-scale search was launched, involving rescue teams, helicopters, and tracking dogs. They scoured every inch of the forest around Penman Mine, but there was no sign of Terrence. Despite the thorough search efforts, Terrence had mysteriously vanished, as if he had never existed. The incident threw Terrence's family in London into a state of panic. They couldn't believe that their strong and talented son had disappeared without a trace. They quickly flew to Idaho to join the search, but all their efforts proved fruitless. What made the situation even more baffling was that earlier that morning, Terrence had texted his father, saying that he would be returning to London sooner than expected. This only added to the family's confusion, as there had been no indication that Terrence was planning to run away or that he was experiencing any psychological issues. In the days that followed, the biggest question remained: why did Terrence run? What could have driven a smart, responsible, and experienced man like him to act in such a way? Some members of the film crew speculated that Terrence might have been exhausted from the pressure of work and the harsh conditions of the area, but there were no prior signs of any mental health issues. In fact, those close to him affirmed that he had no history of psychological problems. Terrence Woods' disappearance, like many others in Idaho, quickly became a major mystery. The community was haunted by the strange coincidence of Terrence's disappearance happening on the same day as Connie Johnson's, with only about 40 miles separating the two locations. This sparked numerous theories about a possible connection between the two cases, and many began to believe that an invisible force was behind these events. Investigators could not find any trace of Terrence, and despite their relentless efforts, the case remained unsolved. Even two private detectives hired by the family to investigate were unable to provide any clear conclusions. They found no evidence that Terrence had been threatened or had suffered an accident. Everything about the case remained mysterious and perplexing, with no one able to explain it. The disappearance of Terrence Woods not only devastated his family and friends, but also stirred fear in the hearts of local residents. People began to question the strange phenomena occurring in the Idaho wilderness. Many believed that the area was haunted by supernatural forces that had pulled Terrence and many others into another dimension, beyond human comprehension. Like Connie Johnson's case, Terrence Woods' disappearance left a trail of unanswered questions. What really happened to him? Why did he run away so frantically? Was there a connection between the disappearances in Idaho? Or was it all just a strange coincidence? These questions continue to haunt those who know the story, and even as time passes, the mystery of the Idaho wilderness remains, challenging every effort to unravel it. As the three mysterious disappearances in Idaho County unfolded, questions and theories about potential connections between these events began to emerge. Lowell Smith, Ron Gray, Connie Johnson, and Terrence Woods all vanished in the wild, rugged areas of Idaho County, and none were ever found. The most recent cases, Connie Johnson and Terrence Woods, occurred on the same day, October 5, 2018, just miles apart, raising suspicions of a hidden link between these incidents. The disappearances of Lowell Smith in 1968 and Ron Gray in 2008 both took place around October, during the peak hunting season in Idaho. This led many to believe that these individuals might have met with accidents during hunting. However, with the more recent cases of Connie and Terrence, and the eerie coincidence in timing, other theories started to surface. On October 5, 2018, both Connie Johnson and Terrence Woods disappeared, although they were in different locations, Connie at Fog Mountain and Terrence at Penman Mine. While there seemed to be no direct connection between the two, the timing made many people wonder. How could two people vanish on the same day in the same remote part of Idaho? Was there an unseen connection we hadn't noticed, or was it simply a terrifying string of coincidences? The common thread between all these disappearances was the location, the vast, rugged, and hard-to-reach wilderness of Idaho County. Spanning over 8,500 square miles, Idaho is one of the largest wilderness areas in the United States, characterized by dense forests, steep terrain, and complex trail systems. This terrain not only makes travel difficult, but also presents extreme challenges for search and rescue operations. All 3 disappearances occurred in remote areas where access by modern transportation is nearly impossible. In the cases of Connie Johnson and Terrence Woods, rescue teams had to deploy helicopters and tracking dogs to search for any clues. Yet despite the extensive efforts, all searches ended in dead ends, with no trace of their whereabouts. Some believe the treacherous terrain may have played a significant role in the disappearances. The dense forests and complex topography can easily disorient anyone, even the most experienced outdoorsmen. This might explain why no traces of the missing individuals were ever found. They could have wandered into uncharted areas and never returned. While the dangers of the wild seem like a plausible explanation, many couldn't shake the idea of supernatural forces at play. The forests of Idaho have long been known for mysterious legends and eerie stories. Many locals believe that this region is haunted by unseen forces that can pull people into another realm where there is no way out. The supernatural theories surrounding these disappearances are nothing new. For decades, Idahoans have spoken of wandering spirits in the woods, of people who vanished and never returned. The stories of paranormal activity are bolstered by the strangeness of these disappearances. No physical traces, no signs of struggle, no blood, and no evidence of wildlife attacks. It's as if these people simply vanished from the face of the earth. Despite numerous theories, from natural accidents to paranormal phenomena, the truth is no one knows for sure what happened to the missing individuals in Idaho County. Each disappearance carries its own set of mysteries, and while there have been small clues, they never form a complete picture. The coincidence in time and location, the mysteries of the terrain, and the unexplained supernatural occurrences together create a murky and haunting picture of Idaho County. These disappearances are not just isolated stories, but part of a larger mystery, one that seems to have no answer. As night falls over the dense forests of Idaho, the silence of nature continues to shroud the unanswered questions. These disappearances remain a part of an unsolved mystery, making Idaho County a haunting place where some enter and never return. The disappearances in Idaho County are not the only mysterious cases to occur in the wilderness of the United States. Across the vast forests and mountains of the country, countless other unsolved disappearances have taken place over the years. Areas like Yosemite National Park, Lassen County, and many others have also witnessed people vanish without a trace. David Paulides, a renowned investigator, has researched hundreds of missing person cases in the wild areas of America, documenting them in his Missing 411 book series. According to him, there are many commonalities in these cases, including the fact that the missing individuals are often experienced outdoorsmen, and searches frequently end with no traces being found. The rugged terrain, harsh weather conditions, and the isolation of these areas are only part of the story. He believes there's a recurring pattern in these disappearances that cannot be easily explained by natural causes alone. The disappearances in Idaho quickly became part of this larger chain of events. Could these cases be connected? Could there be a larger phenomenon, not just in Idaho, but across the wild regions of the U.S., that's happening? These questions have sparked curiosity not only in the local community, but across the country, drawing the attention of investigators and mystery enthusiasts alike. Though the truth may never be known, these disappearances have left a lasting mark on the families and communities involved. They are not just stories of the missing, they have become symbols of unease and the mysteries beyond human understanding. And as the trees in the Idaho forest continue to sway in the wind, silence holds tightly to the secrets, perhaps never to be brought into the light.